Welcome back to Extra Holiday Games. I'm Extra Holiday and I'm about to speedrun my death. No, we were talking about speedruns last episode and it was fun. It was fun. Well, I mean, I don't know if it was fun for you, but I enjoy talking about speedruns. So. It's not something that I would consider myself super experienced at, but it is, I've done at least some of it, and it's pretty neat. I have enjoyed it. And like I also, as mentioned before, I like watching people do runs as well. One thing that I have recently discovered in the speed running community is the bingo races, where you have basically a bingo card full of objectives to do in a game, and whoever gets like bingo first, or whoever gets the most, or whoever gets a certain number of spots filled in, usually 13, because there's 25 spots. And once you get 13, the other person can't get more than that, right? So once that happens, someone wins, and that's pretty cool. I saw the first example I saw was, I believe it was Barry is Streaming versus 'Cause I'm Dan Jones, and that was a fun race. They did a few actually, but it was it's neat. It's a neat little twist on the whole speedrunning idea. Just to make it not so much about, pure can you do the route and can you pull off the techniques, but also just like how much do you know about the game. All right, that's a neat little angle that gets added to it in those runs, and I think that's pretty cool, because ultimately knowledge is a big part of any speed run, right? Knowing what's coming and what you need to do. But to emphasize that part as opposed to the actual just routing and execution is pretty cool. I mean, I guess bingo races also have the issue of routing. In fact, you have to do more routing in a bingo race than you do in a typical speed run normally, because typically other people have figured out the routing beforehand if it's just like a regular old any percent or 100% run, or a category that's already been established for that game. So, yeah, ultimately there's more routing, but that's fine. And that's more interesting, arguably more interesting to me than just can they execute this, one or two bugs, that are exploits that make things faster. And that's also interesting, right? I used to think, when I first started getting into speedruns, I was kind of annoyed by runs where people used bugs to go faster, right? They have a name for runs that are not that. Those are glitchless runs. But yeah, those were glitchless runs were like the only ones I was interested in, because I was like, oh, that's probably just because it was closer to what I experienced when I was playing a game, because I don't know that I've ever really exploited any glitches to beat a game. I don't even think, even since I started speedrunning, because the any percent in Mega Man X has very few glitches to exploit. So ultimately I was like, oh, this is more like how the game is supposed to be, all right? Because my concept of speedrunning at the time was just like playing the game as fast as possible, in the intended way, as fast as possible, right? And also, yeah, like I said, it was closer to the way I experienced the game. So I was like, oh, this is the correct way. But now I've seen how it seemed to me at the time that glitches were kind of like cheating, right? But the thing about cheating is that usually cheating makes a game easier. Whereas a lot of the bugs and exploits that speedrunners use when they're speedrunning are harder to execute than if they would actually just do it the normal way. But it saves time if they do it right. And that's why now I think like, oh, I have no problem with glitches really in speedruns. So like, glitchless is fine, with glitches is fine. The only ones that I think are kinda lame are ones that like warp you straight to the end credits. It's like, you're not even, like, there's no game to play at that point aside from just executing that one glitch. So, and I know, and those glitches do exist in certain games. Like, I know this isn't exactly that, but I believe any percent Ocarina of Time involves going straight from the Deku Tree, which is the first dungeon, if you didn't know. Straight from the Deku Tree to the last Ganon fight, which is the end of the game. And again, it's not exactly the same because there is still game to play there. Like, you have to play up to the Deku Tree, and you have to play the Ganon fight. But it's close enough to where I'm like, I don't know if I'm a fan of that, really. And there's also some glitches that I'm not a fan of that are like, I guess what they would be called is like RNG manipulation, or ones that are based on RNG, I guess I should say. I don't know. Those ones seem strange to me. That like, I guess, well, there aren't a whole lot of them, I guess, ones that rely on RNG, but it seems like, I mean, if a glitch is solely reliant on RNG, then there's no real, is there really skill to executing it? I mean, yes, but, right, it doesn't feel like skill is the determining factor, which means it's not as cool. IMO. But it's fine. Like, I'm not gonna judge anyone for doing a run with that sort of stuff. It's just not a run that I'm gonna watch. That's all. No. Huh. Well, we're consistently getting to this part of the level, which is neat. Yeah, the twirl does help. I had to keep going. I couldn't stop. If I stopped, then that would happen and I'd bounce into the saw. I guess this level is kind of a speed run. Just because it's auto-scroller and the speed is fast enough that you can't really stop for long. It's always another interesting part in speed runs is when they just kind of have to wait. Like, there's one I know of in Banjo-Kazooie where at least the 100% run, where you have to kind of wait for stuff to happen off screen. And the one runner I've watched who does that run, Family Jewels, he takes that time to stretch because it's like a good, 30 seconds to a minute. So yeah, that's a pretty good use of that time. It's just because if you're sitting down for a long time doing speed runs, then it's good to get up every once in a while and stretch those legs. It's the healthy thing to do. Although speaking of healthy things to do in speed runs, I haven't actually looked into it, but since the game came out, I've always wanted to look into Ring Fit Adventure speedruns. Because that, not only does that involve skill and game knowledge, and I guess probably routing too, but it also involves physical fitness, which is interesting. Like, it's an interesting angle that most games do not have. And I guess there are other ones that might do that too, like if there's like a Wii Fit speedrun or a Wii Sports speedrun. There probably is for both those games. Although those, I don't think, at least Wii Sports, I don't think is quite as physically intensive as Ring Fit is. So Wii Sports isn't really made to be a workout, it's just made to be a game that's played with physical motions, and you only really get tired in Wii Sports. At least I only ever really got tired in Wii Sports when I had played for hours on end, as opposed to Ring Fit, which is supposed to be like, okay, you play this for like 30 minutes a day, and that's your workout for the day, or something like that. I mean, depending on your level of fitness, of course, because everyone starts at a different spot, right? You know, some people played football in high school and college, and you know, their bodies are, even a few years after that, their bodies are still, you know, pretty fit, you know, used to that sort of thing. Or some people like me never actually played sport aside from PE. Or there's some people who just didn't play sports at all, or do a whole lot of physical activity at all, as like a lot of people I remember in PE who didn't really put in the effort. See, that's the thing about me in PE. Like, I didn't play I wasn't on any sort of teams or anything for sports, unless you count airsoft, which I kind of do, but and that wasn't a school thing, that was outside of school. Extracurricular, as they say, although sports in general are typically, sports teams are generally considered extracurriculars. The point is, I wasn't on any of the sports teams or anything, but I did always try my hardest when we were playing games in PE, and even like on the mile run and stuff, and the goddamn fitness gram pacer test, which is a meme now. I always tried my hardest in those because I don't know, I thought they were fun. Well, the games anyway, the sports, not necessarily the fitness gram pacer test. That was just kind of annoying, but I just wanted to see how I could do. You know, test my limits. And I think that's kind of like, I should mention, I guess I am mentioning, but I've never been like the most into physical fitness. But if I had to guess, that's probably why a lot of people who like stuff like working out and playing sports more than I do, that's probably why they do it. Or why one of the reasons they do it is because they like to push their limits. Which is kind of like speedrunning, because, you know, speedrunning is pushing your limits, but in a different way. It's pushing your limits in terms of skill rather than simply, well, I guess sports also have skill to them, but it's specifically skill in video games. It's the same idea, pushing your limits. You know, trying to improve. So yeah, if I had to guess, that's one of the big draws of working out and stuff. Ultimately, when it comes to me and my physical fitness, my philosophy has usually been, I just want to be healthy. And to do that, I don't really necessarily need to always be pushing myself harder and harder. So like if I reach a point where, you know, I've got a decent amount of muscle mass and, you know, a decent amount of fat, and like my heart is healthy, my lungs are healthy, like at that point I can probably just maintain and I'd be satisfied. But I feel like most people who are really into working out, they want to go as far as possible, and that's fine. That's a-okay, right? Because yes, you can hurt yourself and make yourself less healthy doing it, but as long as you're smart about it, then you're not gonna run into that problem. Also, stay away from steroids. They're not good. That is the part of the not healthy part of this idea. Whoops. Could have made that. Could have made that, but I didn't. And maybe I'll make it next time. But as for this episode, that's a wrap. Oh, I just thought that one joke with fitness as the setup.